Hey y'all, I'm April.
And I'm Caroline.
And this
is your Bloody Happy Hour.
Caroline, are you ready for this?
This is your newest guilty pleasure.
It's the bloodiest part of your week.
Did we say something about it also being happy hour?
Show did.
Because we're about to be sipping on some murder. Bloody Happy Hour.
Hey y'all, this is April.
And this is Caroline.
Bloody happy hour.
And I just have to say at the top of the show that Karen Reed is freed.
Free Karen Reed.
And this was a whole emotional roller coaster because this has been a 3-year journey, 3.5 year. We've gone through one trial. It was hung jury. We're on the second trial. They did 4 days of deliberations. They come back on yesterday on the fourth day. And the third day they had a couple of questions. They come back on this next day and we're like, all of a sudden it's, hey, there's a verdict. There's a verdict. So we're just like, oh my gosh. And I was on an interview phone call. And so right when I get done with this interview, it's like, we have a verdict. And then she's like, oh wait, judge is like, oh wait, the jury knocked 3 times or whatever. And they were like, just kidding, we don't have a verdict. And we're like, what? What's going on? So then she's like, but everybody, lawyers, families, stay nearby. Don't go anywhere. And so we're just dying. We, as in the rest of the world that's watching.
Yes.
And then it's like another 20 minutes goes by and then they have a verdict.
Okay.
And outside the courthouse is probably 1,000 people. And it's just all Karen Reed people. No, supporters for her.
Okay.
Because there's the whole Free Karen Reed. Wearing their pink and everything.
It's a movement. Oh,
it is
pink?
a movement.
Because it's
that's just
her.
the color that
they chose
her for her. And she's not guilty for. There's 3 counts. There's manslaughter, and then intentional, and then leaving the scene of a crime, and then a charge for drinking while driving or whatever.
She got that one right.
So she's not guilty for any of the murder charges, not guilty for that, but she was guilty for, it's called a OUI, operating under the influence.
Okay.
Which is a DUI.
Okay.
And she's a first-time offender, so she gets 1 year probation. But as they're announcing it in the courtroom, and you hear them say not guilty for that third one, you hear a roar from outside. You're inside the courtroom, and it's just wow, just yelling. And they were told not to make any, they're told not to make any noise. But they're outside the courtroom.
Outside.
And you can hear it. It sounded louder in the courtroom than out of the courtroom.
Oh.
Because I watched clips from inside and then from outside. It was wild. And then they start cheering Free Karen Reed, Free Karen Reed. And I was at the pool, so I ran and jumped in the pool, and it was just a whole, and it's not even, yes, I've invested a lot of my time into this trial, because I was basically on the jury.
Were people this involved in Karen, was there a Karen Reed movement the first trial? Mm-hmm. It was this big, and it just got bigger the second trial? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the main fact is that anybody could be in her position, and it was just justice because she, based on all the facts and the horrible investigation, it was obvious that he was not killed by a car, by being hit by a car. Mm-hmm. And he had dog scratches, and he had this injury to the back of his head that just the Commonwealth or the prosecution's theory was not adding up. So it was just.
Well, and I think about how many small town crooked cops there are and how many people are in jail because this shit happens all the time.
Yes. And almost it became so big
that people who weren't as brave as Karen Reed maybe not have the
balls to
resources,
go up
balls,
yeah,
or maybe the the potential.
Yeah, because that's what they said on text message. They're like, well, the lead investigator's like, we'll pin it on the girl. And then there's other text messages. They're like, oh, she'll plead, or they said if she doesn't plead, this is going to be an episode. And she didn't like just say, she didn't just like lay down and just get run over. She fought. And I'm pretty sure, yes, they did. She did have money. Her parents had money. But the second trial, completely, she didn't pay anything. It was just money that was raised. That was because she had 2 new attorneys, or at least one. She had Alessi, she had David Yannetti, she had Alan Jackson, and she had Little. But so she had one extra one.
So go to the first trial. If she didn't have the money, then she would have been screwed. Or
likely, because she hired Alan Jackson, who is like a big time attorney out of LA.
Yeah.
And he prosecuted Phil Spector, I think. And he did because he was a prosecutor. And
who's related to Harvey Specter from Suits.
I think so.
Yeah. That's why she won.
Yeah.
So there you go right there.
They did, yeah, exactly. If you don't have the money to fight for your right, then...
So that takes out low-income people, takes out a lot of minorities that they've probably done that to. So there's a ton of people in jail that they've probably done that to, or other police departments that's probably done that to. Low socioeconomic, probably a lot of people of other races that didn't have families with money, or that families probably had to put their houses up, collateral.
Well, and that's she like sold her home. She didn't have a car. She lost her job. Like,
but now she's probably about to sue the hell out of them, because that's going to be next. It is.
I think she's going to she'll probably do some documentary, whatever. She'll do that. And I think she should just go to law school, because at this point she's basically an attorney, because...
Oh, she better sue first and get millions.
Yeah.
Millions and millions.
Well, I think now that they said
will they now pursue against them?
I think so. The FBI was investigating this case during trial 1. Then they closed the case. But then I heard somewhere that they were like, if she's acquitted, the DA, Michael Morrissey, the FBI is then going to investigate him and look into him and everything that he's done, because he's shady. The judge, they're all, it's just,
wow.
Yeah. So
that's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Oh, talk about scary. Let me tell you one more scary story. In this Minnesota guy, Vance Boring or Boeing or something. He is the alleged killer of these Minnesota lawmakers. So apparently he had this like list of names. It's also wild. He's married with 5 kids, but then he has several different jobs. He has money. He's like, one story says he has money. One story says he works as a 7-Eleven manager. I don't know. But then he has this other part-time job away from his family home, where he has a roommate, which is a guy who's like a fat, sweaty guy who is a delivery driver for Papa John's.
Oh, just how you picture him.
And then this guy like targets these people. He goes to one house. He shoots them. He shoots the guy 9 times, the wife 8 times. They both survive.
Oh.
He goes to another house to kill these people. They're not home. Goes to another house. They're not home. By the time he gets to the next house, the people from the first house, daughter, called the cops. The cops go to the house that he's at. They actually get there before he gets inside the house. Like, he's at the front door. And he's wearing police, just like a police gear, like a vest, and it has a flashlight, and he has this creepy, like Michael Myers, like whole head face mask thing. Like it's like a skin suit almost.
Ooh, wow.
With the hollow eye. Like it is the creepiest thing. I don't know why you would open the door, but I think they opened the door because he was like, open up, it's the police. And they open it and they're like, wait, you're not a cop. And then he sees that the police are there. He shoots at the police. The police shoot back at him. Then he like makes his way into the house and shoots the two people. Those people both die. Then he escapes out of the back door. And then he's like on the run. Meanwhile, in the driveway is his car, which is like trying to dress as a police car. Like he put like reflectors on it. He had put lights on it. And he wrote on the license plate, it's almost like it's like stick-on letters that say police.
Because that's what police cars have.
Yes. And then that's where but also at the same time, the police have now somehow identified this guy. And they find his wife. They pull her over. She has like all this ammo and guns and passports in her car, and they let her go.
Oh, why?
I don't know. And then then it's like this big, huge manhunt. I mean, everybody's there. All resources, all hands on everything. And they end up catching him. He's on his own property. He has he's like country, a bunch of land. Based on drones, they use drones, and they identified him from his trail cam. And he was like crawling on the ground trying to escape from them. And then they catch him. And it's just a weird...
What was his motive?
He just didn't like Democrats, but the person he killed, she had just voted with Republicans on some vote for immigrants or something. Mm-hmm. But it was like, well, why would you? It doesn't make sense.
Is
I don't
it
know.
Boeing, like Boeing?
No,
like
it's
for
no,
the
it's
airplane?
no, it's not.
Oh,
It's like, I can't remember how to say it, but it's Vance Bolter, Boelter, and then it's weird because also. The police stood there and watched him go in the home, which is weird. But then also, after the fact, he's caught. This house, the one where he killed the people, the windows are like boarded up. And then somebody breaks into the house. They like pry off of the plywood off of the windows, break into the house. Apparently nothing's missing. I don't know what's going on.
To get something?
I don't know. Or to clean up something. I have no idea. But it's just a whole weird it's just
we know
you know
25% of the story. They're telling us 25% of the story. Oh goodness.
And this was him.
I don't know.
So that's the I was trying to find the picture of I mean, it's just a whole creepy, weird situation.
There's this, Kiefer Sutherland is in, and I think it's a Taylor Sheridan series, and it's called Rabbit Hole, and it's basically CIA operatives, trained killers. I watched a couple, maybe last summer or summer before, but basically it's kind of like B316 or 613, whatever it is. And so the government gets these people to do these jobs that they want, but then if it goes wrong and it's then they turn the news around to make it seem like it's a crazy...
Like MS-13, like scandal type stuff?
Like it's just a crazy person that is politically motivated or
but apparently, like
like
he
that.
worked for Tim Walz, who was like running for the VP. Like what? So then, I don't know. It's a whole weird thing. Oh,
so the Democrats really did it, and they're setting it up to make.
That's
so you usually think the opposite. Ooh, that is scary.
Yeah. So that's the creepy.
I'm never going to answer the door if there's
no
a white cop
do not
knocking at it.
with no eyeballs.
With no eyeballs. balls.
Come
and
on.
his gun strapped in front of him? No.
So just be aware
Like he's going to war.
who is in you. Because I obviously will look at the camera or
You
through
don't
the
answer the
peephole.
door anyways.
Hell no. I answered the door 2 Fridays ago. Because there were these cute boys trying to sell me something. So I was like, I'm just going to talk to him. Let's just go talk to him. So they tried to clean my windows. They tried to get me new windows. I was like, okay, you can give me new windows, but is this a gift? Like, I don't know. And they're like, we'll come back at 2:30. I was like, okay. 10 minutes later, doorbell rings again. I was like, oh, hell. These people already saw that I answered the door for these other people, so now I got to go answer the door for these people. And they're trying to get me a new roof. I was like, wait.
You could get the new roof because we just had hail.
I know, but then the
insurance will probably pay for
deductible
that.
is like $2,500. So
You won't have to pay for it.
Well, I was like, actually, I did get hail like 3 times in one day. So
Yeah.
Anyway.
Tell them you don't want to pay your
I don't
deductible.
answer the door anymore after that because listen, I answered it one time and now look what happens. It's like a floodgates have opened. So I ain't answering.
No more. Okay, so let's get to our story for the week. And we are going to Houston, Texas.
That's so close.
In a little town suburb area called Clear Lake. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a story. This title of this episode is going to be called Deal with the Devil. And we are going to go down the Satanic Lane.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's pretty scary. And this is the murder of Corriann Cervantes.
Never heard.
Me either. And this is recent. We're going to 2014. And it's a pretty legit story that I'm just so surprised that neither of us have ever heard of this. I stumbled on it watching True Crime Texas documentary. And it's even a podcast. So let's meet Corriann. She was 15 years old at the time of the story. She was described as beautiful, fun-loving, and bubbly. She had olive skin, dark hair, blue eyes. So can you imagine what that looks like? You're paying for that, right?
Yes.
People pay for that. I am spending a lot of time in the sun just to have more darker skin. But blue eyes, dark olive skin, and dark hair.
Is this a story about me?
She
Because I
loved
have
to
blue eyes
swim.
today. Okay.
She loved to swim. She was at the pool all the time, and she was just a typical Texas teenager. She loved sleepovers. She loved going to the beach, lake, or pool, lounging on the couch, hanging with her cousins. She sung in the choir at Clear Creek High School, and she lived with her dad at the time of this story. So, also at the time of this story, she was going through a rebellious stage. So at this time, she was skipping school and kind of getting caught with skipping school and getting in a little bit of trouble. I didn't find details of why she was going through this rebellious stage, but also didn't see much about her mom. So that could have been it. Like, even in the documentary, there's nothing about the mom. So I don't know if the mom died. I don't know if the mom was gone, drugs, divorce, or whatever. But to me, that could be the reason for rebellion, right? So she was skipping school a lot, and she ended up on the alternatives campus. Here we call it like DAEP or something like that.
Yeah.
So she was at the alternative campus at her high school. At this time, she hadn't been there like throughout her whole high school career. You usually get like a 30 or 60-day placement. So this is February 4th. 2014, and she skipped school that day. So she got up and she put on her Rob Zombie t-shirt. She had recently gone through like a little goth stage, and if you look at her some of her pictures, her under eyeliner was like darker, like it was black. So she was and she was wearing a Rob Zombie t-shirt. And then she wasn't all the way goth, but she was going through, like she was on the first stages of goth. And so she got caught pretty immediately. Her dad found out. He was pissed, and he grounded her. So she went home that afternoon, and he was like, you got to stay in your room. You're grounded. You're not going anywhere. Stay in your room. And so she was 15, and at 15, when you're grounded, you think your life is over and you want to be grown and you want to control your life and you don't want anybody else to control your life.
Sneak out the window.
And he had to go to Kroger, right? Like literally across the street from where they live, because he had to get something to cook dinner because there's no wife in the picture. So when he left to go to Kroger, so did she. She snuck out and she met up with her friend Randy Hurtado. And they met up to go smoke some weed like they would do, okay? So they went to the Bays apartment complex, which is the apartment complex across from where she lived. And Randy had a hookup on some Xanax bars. Now, Randy did Xanax bars, and she wanted to, but Randy was kind of protective over her. He would let her smoke weed. He would drink with her, but he did not want to give her any Xanny bars because he didn't want her getting that high. She was younger. She was 15, and he kind of felt responsible for her. Mm-hmm. So he was like, weed is as far as I'm going to let you go in my presence, I guess. Mm-hmm. So decent friend, Randy. I think that's a good job. So also this day, they linked up with two other guys. One is Victor Alice. He's 16 years old. And the other one is Victor's cousin, 17-year-old Franklin Flores. So they, too, had the hookup on some Xanax, and they took some Xanax. Now, Victor had court the next day because Victor, he'd been a busy teenager. He liked to rob. He liked to steal.
As one does.
He just had little busy hands, and
he couldn't help himself.
He thought maybe he was going to go to jail. So he was like, might be my last day of freedom. Let me get high.
Let me do all the things.
All the things, just in case I got to go to juvenile.
There you go.
So they took some Xanax bars, which don't that just make you go to sleep?
I guess it's like anxiety, but it's like, calming.
But what is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like relaxes you,
so,
but it's not like ecstasy, which is like MDMA, which
makes you
sensitive to things.
So
like
you'll get something out of that. So to me,
but I think it's like an anxiety pill.
So I know of people that have lost
I don't know.
family members, like sudden deaths, right? And then they get prescribed Xanax, and just so they can go to sleep because they're not able to sleep and numb and go to sleep.
Right.
But all they do is just go to sleep. It's not like
it's a relax.
But I guess after a while, if you keep taking it, it will make you calm you during a stressful situation. I guess. I don't understand. I guess what I'm saying is I don't understand the reason why to take it to get high.
I don't either.
Okay, so maybe they're kids and they think it's cool to take it. I don't know, but so they're taking it and they feel cool, and so it's Victor's last day of freedom. Now this day, Corriann was really begging to take some Xanax. She was like, Randy, let me just take it. Like, I'm grounded. It's been a hard day. Give me some. If you don't give me any, I'm going to get some from them anyways. So he was like, okay, damn it. Let me just give you a half of one. Mm-hmm. So he gave her a half of one. And they end up, there's this lady named Candy that lives in these apartments. And Candy's a grown-ass woman, Candy. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Candy. Because Candy's in her 40s. And she lets these 16 and 15 and 17-year-old high school kids come to her house and do drugs and drink and get high. And she does it with them, and she feels real cool about herself.
Oh, Candy.
You're
a little insecure.
So, not only are they doing drugs and weed and Xanax, Candy is now giving them hard liquor. So they're drinking on this probably cheap ass
downer
Taka
plus
vodka.
downer plus downer.
I know, all all depressants. So I feel like everybody's just about to pass out in a
I
minute.
think so.
So I don't know how this is even a good mix. So Corriann begins to get pretty sleepy, as somebody
As
would.
one would.
And she's kind of falling asleep on the couch. And Candy, who I feel like is probably low-key predator,
Yeah.
is like, hey, why don't you go sleep in my bed?
Yeah,
Go
just
take a nap in my room. And Corriann was like, do you mind if I just stay over? And Candy thinks she's just being a good, responsible adult. And she's like, sure.
Yeah.
I don't want you to walk across the street drunk.
No.
Spend the night in my bed.
Please.
And Corriann is obviously avoiding her dad, which is probably going to bring the hellfire because she's already in trouble. And then she snuck out. And so Corriann climbs into Candy's bed about 9:00 p.m. and she passes out. Okay?
Oh, no.
Now, there's a knock at the door because the other guys are still partying in Candy's living room. There's a knock at the door and a guy named Jose Reyes. So all Mexicans, if we haven't gathered, this is a story of Chicanos. And Jose knocks at the door and he seems very, very angry. And he's like, he only want to talk to Corriann. Is Corriann here? I need Corriann. And he seems pretty angry. And so they're like, she's asleep. And instead of him saying, okay, well, I'll come back later, he says, I need to talk to her now. So he grabs his friend Victor, who is already there, and they go back to the room and they go talk to Candy. Randy's mom shows up to get him. That's good friend Randy that didn't let her do Xanax. And so Randy leaves. So that leaves Franklin, Candy, Jose that just got there, angry Jose, and then Victor, who's supposed to be going to juvenile tomorrow.
Okay.
And then Corriann, who's passed out.
Yes.
So Candy becomes before Randy leaves, Randy's like, Victor, do you mind walking Corriann home? Like, I have to go. My mom wants me to go, but I just don't want her to go walk home by herself and she's this drunk. He's still kind of taking care of her. And I guess he's just not aware that she had planned to spend the night at Candy's house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So Victor's like, bet, I'll make sure. So they're in there talking to her in the back room or doing whatever. And Candy gets uncomfortable because she's like, I don't know if those two guys should be in there with her and she's drunk. Like, I don't know what's happening. Plus, I probably plan to take advantage of her in her sleep later on. So I don't want them to do what I plan to do later on.
Listen, that's my minor I'm going to take advantage of. Come on.
That is my minor. So then she goes in there. She's like, I don't feel comfortable with this. I think y'all need to leave. Candy is sleeping. And so when she goes in there, Corriann is awake. And they're kind of like, got her in the middle and they're like kind of escorting her out. And they're like, Corriann, where are you going? She's like, Corriann, where are you going? I thought you were spending the night in my bed.
Yeah.
And Corriann's like, change of plans. They are going to take me to my friend Jocelyn's house. I'm going to spend the night at Jocelyn's house.
Uh-oh. Candy did not like that.
And Candy was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should just spend the night here. And
you're already here. You're already in the bed. Just go ahead and just
let's
relax.
pull back the covers. Take off your shoes.
It's fine. Take off your shirt. It's gonna be okay.
Shirts. This is the better idea.
Yeah.
And she couldn't convince her to stay.
Oh.
And
hell.
Candy was like, I think you're drunk. I don't think you should go with these two guys.
Don't walk and drive.
Stay with
drink.
me. I'm 40.
Stay with me. Yes.
Trustworthy. I got you drunk. I'm the better choice.
Yes.
This could go way wrong. So
Team Candy.
Oh, and also because it was three guys, right? It was Paul, it was Victor, and it was Franklin. And so Franklin was like, we'll just make sure she gets somewhere safe. Okay. So Franklin he thought they were actually going to just walk Corriann home, literally across the street to her dad's house. But they actually walked her up those same apartments they're in to the second floor. But the second floor was an abandoned apartment. And in this abandoned apartment was like this big coat closet. And this coat closet smelled like weed. It had like these ashtrays. And when Franklin saw that those other two boys had more sinister plans to take advantage of her,
Oh, no.
Franklin turned into Usain Bolt. And he literally took off running.
He gone.
Yeah. And good for him, but bad for Corriann. Because he went home and went to bed. And Corriann would never be seen again after this. Or wouldn't be seen alive again after this. Now, later that night, so Franklin went home and he went to bed. Later that night, Paul and Victor went back to the house where Franklin was sleeping. Victor and Franklin are cousins. They live together and they sleep in the same room. Remember, I said Mexican. A lot of times, there's a whole bunch of us living in the house. And they share the same room. And so Victor and Jose climbed through the window. And Franklin was like, Jose, get the hell up out of my room.
Climb through the window?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're sneaking in. It is late.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. And so Franklin was like, Jose, get the hell out of here. Like, Victor can come in. He lives here. You leave, Jose. So Jose left. The next day, which was February 5th, Corriann was reported missing because she had never made it home. And she was missing for the next couple of days.
Oh, no.
Until February 9th, where a guy named Arturo Flores decided he was going to go smoke some weed.
Oh, in the abandoned place.
And he had a secret spot that
was his spot.
he and his friend Paul Reyes, which was Angry Paul. I hope I was saying Paul earlier. I wasn't saying Pablo, was I? I probably said Pablo. Sorry if I was.
Pablo.
Or him and his friend Paul would go and smoke sometimes.
Yeah.
So this place was on the second floor. It's an abandoned apartment. And this was about 2 a.m. And when he entered the second floor, he saw blood and he saw a body. And Arturo panicked and he went back downstairs and he knocked on some neighbors' doors. And so he knew these neighbors used to be in the military and he knew they would be up because they're gamers. So he got them and they went up there and he said, can y'all come help? Like, this girl needs help or this woman needs help. The body looked so bad, he thought it was like a shriveled up old lady. He said, can y'all come and like help them render aid? Okay. Help her and render aid. So when they got there, they realized that it was too late. When they looked closer, they saw that she no longer had a face. She was stripped naked from the waist down. She was wearing her Rob Zombie shirt, but her black bra was fastened over the top of her shirt. I don't know how that would happen, why that would happen. There was broken porcelain everywhere. And on the wall was a pentagram. And
sacrifice killing.
And an upside down cross drawn in blood. But they still don't think it's Corriann because she looks so bad. It looks like an old lady. Oh my God. They call 911 and later on her body was identified as Corriann through forensic odontology. Remember that word?
Odontologist.
So, crime scene and medical examiner revealed that the incident started off in that closet where people would go and smoke weed on that second floor, where they first bashed her head into the wall and they began to sexually assault her in that closet. She tried to fight back and she ran into the living room where they grabbed the lid to the toilet, so the top part of the toilet, the lid where you can jingle that little thing, and they beat her in the head with it repeatedly until it broke in half, and that thing is thick.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they beat her with the pieces
Oh
of
my
it.
gosh.
After that, there was a big, heavy glass ashtray. They beat her with that. And then they got a screwdriver and stabbed her with it 61 times.
What is happening?
Then they got the little, think about the little things that you twist on the blinds to open them and close them.
Uh-huh.
They pulled those off and stabbed her in the eye so deep it went to the back of her skull and fractured, like went through the bone of her skull. And the top part of the hook that hooks onto it was stuck in her.
Oh my gosh.
And then they took
There's more?
2, so they had 2 of those, and they sodomized her with it.
Oh,
One in the bum and one in the vag. They shoved it so far in her. One was like up to her waist, but the other got up to her rib cage. She was alive until that other one got to her rib cage. So she was alive through this whole thing.
I didn't know if that was possible, but
That's what the ME said.
ow! But she was alive this whole time?
Uh-huh.
After she got beat in the head with the toilet thing?
Uh-huh.
And the ashtray?
Uh-huh.
And the screwdriver?
Uh-huh.
And
then they,
whatever the hell else.
yeah, like probably barely, but alive. Hopefully just not feeling it, you know? There was sheetrock in her vagina.
Oh,
And then
no.
post-mortem, they used that screwdriver and they carved an inverted cross on her chest.
This is all just unacceptable
It
and
is.
unnecessary.
Did I forget to trigger warning, y'all? Oh,
Trigger
warning. She obviously died from a whole lot of things. Blunt force, like stab wounds.
Golly.
Oh, bad. So bad. Now, it obviously did not take long to figure out the suspects because high school kids just can't keep their mouths shut. So Jose Reyes, literally the next day or the next 2 days after this murder happened, went to Kroger with some friends. Kroger's got some good advertising in the story.
Yeah.
Because when he was at Kroger with some friends, he was actually bragging about how he sold his soul to the devil. And in order to do it, he had to kill a girl. And these friends really didn't believe him.
Why do you want to sell your soul to the devil?
And later, they didn't believe him. They were like, he's stupid. Okay. Later, I guess they all rapped and they would record their raps or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
While he was rapping, some of his lyrics gave some very detailed descriptions about how he killed a girl named Corriann and they strangled her, that she was strangled with the belt, and that they stabbed her with a screwdriver, and all she could do was ask why. And ask why. Yeah, it was like part of these lyrics.
Oh my gosh.
So then he goes home and he's just like shooting the shit with his sister, and he starts to tell his sister about the murder. And he tells his sister that him and Victor were having a threesome, but the threesome went sideways when she bit his penis during oral sex.
Okay, Lorena Bobbitt.
So baby mama, he's got a baby mama, was at the house during this time, and baby mama overheard this conversation. And so her name was Agapita. I just had to throw that in there for
There
you.
you go. There you go.
And she decides to like low-key ask him about it. And he was like, yeah, we had to kill her to steal her soul for the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And so she decides to tell her friend, who is a cop. And she tells her friend, who's a cop, that he is obsessed with Satan and pentagrams, and writes 666 everywhere and upside down crosses. So this cop friend is like, bet, because what he didn't tell her is that was all over the crime scene, on the wall, on her body, everywhere. So they get a search warrant for Jose's apartment and for his phone. And on his phone, they see a picture of a deleted picture of a sex act with 3 people. And they zoom in. It is Victor, it is Corriann, and it is Jose. So now they have the 3 people. And then they see a screenshot of an article about the murder. So then that gives them reasons that they can take Jose's DNA and cross-reference it with the DNA from the crime scene. And so it's a match that says they cannot be ruled out.
Yeah.
Okay, so good enough match. So Jose and Victor were both arrested. Mind you, 16 and 17 years old. The girl was 15. So they're interviewing Victor now, and Victor denied participating in the murder. He said he denied selling his soul to the devil. He said that him and Corriann were having consensual sex in that apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And Jose came in and started beating her with an ashtray. And that all he could do is sit back and watch because he panicked, because he was afraid of what Jose was going to do.
Okay.
He was afraid. And that he did choke her because Jose asked him to, because he didn't know what else to do. So that's the only part that he participated in, is choking her with the belt that he actually had on at the time.
Okay.
So he put the belt back on and he wore it to the police station.
Yeah. I don't know, dude.
So they were like, well, you know, do you happen to know where we would find that screwdriver? And he was like, oh yeah, I threw it in the bushes at the church. So they went and found it. And
Oh
it
my
had
gosh.
Victor's DNA on it, even though he had nothing to do with anything else. So they were charged with capital murder, and they both pled not guilty. Smart kids. Mm-hmm. While in jail, Jose wrote letters about how he needed her soul for the devil. He had already sold his soul, but Victor wanted to sell his soul. So they made a deal with the devil.
Golly.
So this is after being arrested, being in jail for months and months and months. So he has yet to show any remorse. He is just writing letters to people, to random people, talking about it, and still talking about, like, and he also said, I stabbed that hoe 61 times.
Bragging.
Bragging.
Yeah.
Showing nothing, no remorse. Jose was on trial first, and it was December 2014. So the trial happened pretty quick. The prosecution was basically like, this was a satanic ritual murder, and the defense was like, no, it wasn't. This sex was consensual. And they were like, this wasn't a kidnapping because she went willingly. So they tried to get that charge dropped, and they kind of went back and forth on that because she did go with them willingly.
Mm-hmm. But she was still drunk
But she was drunk, and so you really can't make that decision. So either way, jury deliberated for 90 minutes, and Jose was found guilty for capital murder and received life without the possibility of parole.
As he should.
He could not get death penalty because he was 17 at the time of the crime.
Gosh.
He deserves the death penalty. Victor's trial was next, and he was tried June of 2015. They only deliberated for 30 minutes, and he received life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
But
they did not take them that long for that one.
No. But he appealed, and he won his appeal.
No.
Because he was 16 at the time of the murder, and you cannot give a 16-year-old life without parole. So they amended his, and he is now eligible for parole in 2054.
It's just right on the corner.
Yeah.
It's like Basically tomorrow.
Recently, this Texas true crime documentary came out, like in 23.
Uh-huh.
And so Jose Reyes was interviewed. He is now completely bald and tatted up neck, head, face. He looks like Nico Jenkins.
Oh my gosh.
And he has now since denied everything and said that he has been covering up from somebody this whole time.
Oh, so he's...
And that he is innocent. And he is so sorry about what happened that night, but he did not kill her. It was somebody else. He just cannot say who.
No, I can't.
Just can't do it.
Mm-mm.
But I'm so sorry about what happened to her.
So
but
sorry.
It wasn't me.
Shaggy defense.
Yeah. That is it. That is the story of Corriann.
Where did you watch it?
Texas True Crime. It was on Hulu. It's a whole like just documentary series of a whole bunch of Texas murders. I don't like
never
the
heard of that.
I know. Well, I don't like the documentary because it starts off like hard.
Yeah.
And it gave me no background of anything, so I had to go and listen to a couple other things. But great interviews, and great interviews like with the DA, who was 100% like invested in the crime.
Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
What they were saying is it wasn't a big story, and it got obviously media time there, Clear Lake and probably Houston area, but because she was going through a rebellious stage and because it involved drugs, so she was in alternative school, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So who's that going to appeal? So they had put her in a category of not somebody that would be sympathetic to the viewers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Portrayed
they're
her in
saying that
light.
they
Yeah.
think that that's why it wasn't a humongous story, which is horrible because it should be talked about because she was tortured.
That's awful.
And she was just hurting probably because she was going through something, a divorce, mommy issues.
She should have just stayed
and
with
she
Candy.
was just smoking weed.
She should have stayed with Candy. She would have gotten taken advantage of with her shirt off, but probably not drilled with a screwdriver in the window.
And they were like, allegedly, they were her friends. Like they knew her. They went to school together. They knew her, but for whatever reason, they just wanted to kill that night.
Mm-mm.
She was the one.
Well, good
Horrible,
story.
horrible.
Horrible, good story. Good,
Yep.
horrible story.
Yep. Okay.
Wow.
That is it. So hopefully you don't got to go eat lunch or dinner because your stomach might be turned by now.
Wow.
That is it. We will see y'all next week for a whole new episode of Bloody Happy Hour.
Yes, we will.
Don't forget to
Stay aware.
stay alive.
Always be DTF.
Goodbye.